Welcome back to Skytech-Lens, a landmark decision. The United States Supreme Court has drawn a clear line on presidential authority. On August 13, 2025, the court overturned President Trump's emergency tariffs, ending months of economic turmoil. The ruling wasn't about politics, it was about the Constitution and the separation of powers. The court found that using emergency powers to impose sweeping tariffs stretched the law beyond its intent. This decision reaffirms that Congress, not the president, holds the power to regulate international trade. For Americans, this means relief from rising prices and uncertainty. The ruling acts as a reset, restoring checks and balances and reminding us that no branch is above the law. It's a powerful declaration. The Constitution is not just history, it's the rule book for today. To grasp the court's decision, we need to understand tariffs. A tariff is a tax on imported goods, meant to make foreign products more expensive and boost domestic sales. Earlier this year, the Trump administration imposed broad tariffs on imports from key partners like China, the EU, Canada, and Mexico, citing a national emergency under the IEEPA. The administration argued that trade deficits and job losses were urgent threats, justifying swift action without Congress. The impact was immediate. Companies relying on global supply chains saw costs soar, and many passed those costs to consumers. Small businesses struggled, and allies retaliated with their own tariffs, hurting American exporters. The result was a cycle of escalating trade tensions and economic uncertainty. The global trading system, built on decades of cooperation, was thrown into chaos. All of this stemmed from a single controversial policy. The Supreme Court's ruling was rooted in a strict reading of the law and the Constitution. The justices concluded that IEPA was never meant for broad economic policy. It was for true emergencies like sanctions on hostile nations. Trade deficits and manufacturing challenges, while serious, aren't legal emergencies. The court emphasized that only Congress can make sweeping changes to trade policy. This decision reinforces the major questions doctrine. Big economic moves need clear congressional approval. The ruling echoes the famous Youngstown case where the court blocked President Truman from seizing steel mills. Once again, the court affirmed that presidential power is limited, especially when Congress has clear authority. The decision returns trade power to Congress, ensuring future presidents must work with lawmakers. It's a strong defense of the legislative process. The message is clear: no president can bypass Congress on major economic decisions. For American businesses, the Supreme Court's decision is a lifeline. The tariffs had driven up costs overnight, forcing tough choices: layoffs, price hikes, or even closure. Now, with tariffs invalidated, customs will stop collecting duties and begin processing refunds, providing immediate relief. This cash infusion could save many companies from going under. The ruling restores stability, allowing businesses to plan and invest again. It also ends a system where political connections mattered more than business skill. With the playing field leveled, companies can focus on growth and innovation, not lobbying for exemptions. The scars will take time to heal, but this is a crucial first step toward recovery. Trade policy hits home for American families. The tariffs raised prices on everyday goods, squeezing household budgets. The court's decision should gradually lower costs, giving families some breathing room. As tariffs disappear, prices stabilize and may even drop, freeing up money for essentials. The ruling also helps protect jobs. Businesses with lower costs are more likely to hire and give raises. Families will benefit from more product choices and a healthier job market. Ultimately, the decision keeps the economy open and benefits everyone at the checkout line. The emergency tariffs strained America's relationships with key allies. Countries like Canada and the EU saw the tariffs as economic aggression and responded with their own, hurting U.S. exporters. The trade war fractured alliances and undermined cooperation on global issues. The Supreme Court's ruling signals to the world that America's system of checks and balances works. It reassures allies that U.S. policy is guided by law, not just presidential whim. Rebuilding trust will take time, but this decision opens the door for renewed cooperation. The U.S. can now re-engage with partners and reaffirm its commitment to fair, stable trade. It's a chance to move from conflict back to collaboration. At the heart of this story is the question: who controls trade policy? The Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the power to regulate commerce with foreign nations. While Congress has delegated some authority, the ultimate power remains with lawmakers. The administration's use of emergency powers to impose tariffs challenged this balance. The Supreme Court's decision restores that balance, making clear that the president can't bypass Congress on major trade issues. Future presidents will need to work with Congress, not around it. This is a victory for separation of powers and democratic accountability. This case is a lesson in why checks and balances are vital for democracy. The founders designed a system where no branch could dominate, protecting liberty and stability. The tariff dispute showed this system in action. The executive acted, the judiciary reviewed, and the legislative branch's authority was upheld. When government follows clear rules, people and businesses can plan and thrive. Without these guardrails, chaos and uncertainty would rule. The Supreme Court's decision affirms that major changes must go through a transparent, democratic process. It's a reminder that the rule of law, not raw power, governs America. This is the strength of a resilient democracy. The Supreme Court's ruling is a crucial reminder that democracy depends on strong guardrails, separation of powers, and the rule of law. The tariff case tested these principles, and they held firm. The decision sets a precedent. Emergency powers aren't a blank check for presidents. It encourages collaboration and debate, not unilateral action. For citizens, it's proof that engagement and legal challenges matter. The story of the tariffs is ultimately one of institutional resilience and self-correction. It's an affirmation that American democracy, even under stress, endures and adapts. Thanks for watching a video, and subscribe to the channel now for more updates. Thanks.